authored the supply chain review, which was published earlier this year ahead of the sector deal. It's pretty hard-hitting, and one of the key messages is essentially business as usual will not lead to success. So what needs to change?
Yeah, hard-hitting is one way to describe it, that's correct. It was a pretty exciting thing to be involved in. So obviously the UK industry has achieved a huge amount for offshore wind. We've seen fantastic investment in facilities like the Siemens Blade facility in Hull. We ourselves in East Anglia One have managed to take towers from a facility in Scotland, and that's been really welcoming as well. But if we want to see sustained growth for supply chain in the UK, we do need to look more seriously at how we achieve that. I think one of the key areas we want to see more being done on is innovation funding, particularly for SMEs. It's incredibly difficult to navigate that landscape right now, and that's one of the reasons why the Offshore Growth Partnership has been set up to help companies do that. We also want to have a look at ways that we can reach out to supply chain and talk to them about what the opportunities are. It's not always easy to know who your customer is, what kind of contracting strategy to expect, and that's something that's quite simple and straightforward. And it just needs developers who are involved in the Offshore Wind Industry Council to get together and do that. But there's loads more recommendations, they're all in the report. Happy to send that on to anyone who's interested.
Absolutely. Your background's in geography and socio-economic planning, and that's something you're bringing to your role at Scottish Power. What does that mean in practice, and how can that help to address the skills gap?
Yeah, so one of the ways that offshore wind is developed within the UK around a number of coastal communities is that it often finds an O&M base, and the local communities that are most affected by the offshore wind farm tend to come from maybe a more deprived background. Perhaps they've faced more high unemployment. That's just a historical factor of how coastal communities in the UK have developed. But what it means is that there's an opportunity there for offshore wind to bring investment and see economic growth happen. But that doesn't just happen by awarding contracts. It's really important that developers, like those who are involved in the Offshore Wind Industry Council, really pay attention to the local areas where they're developing. They really think about how the O&M development can help those areas. Sometimes that's with long-term jobs, sometimes that's with a contracting strategy that looks at what local contractors are available to support you. And sometimes it's just about speaking to your local authorities and the stakeholders about what their needs are. Perhaps it's a skills gap in a particular area that they want support in, or perhaps they have high unemployment and they want you to help with reskilling people who've previously fallen out of unemployment.
You've described a very rich and complex picture there. Are there any specific measures in place that are designed to address the sector's diversity goals?
Yes, absolutely. So as a sector, we have made a really good commitment to increase the number of women in the offshore wind industry by 1/3. I think that's really important to set that target because it gives you a measurement tool. But it goes beyond that as well. We're also looking at black and minority ethnic communities and how we can increase their representation in the offshore wind business. And I know that later this year we will set a target for that. I think that's equally as important area to set a target for. But it's also just about thinking, what can we do in business to change the culture so that these diversity issues are more than just a target. It's not just ticking a box exercise. It's about changing the future of our business so that in 30 years' time, I can look across the landscape of people at a conference like this and see a number of different faces. And with that, I'll get a number of different ideas as well.
Indeed. And related to that, I believe you're part of the RenewableUK switch list programme.
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit about that and how that works and what that's doing for you?
Yeah, it's really simple tool actually. You basically just sign up and you put in your contact details, who you are, where you work, and then a description of things that you are, a specialist topic in. And I know sometimes that's difficult to think, well, what am I a specialist in? Just look at your job profile, chat to folk around you, ask them, what do you think I'm best at talking about? What am I most passionate about? Bang that in. Next time there's an event coming up and RUK have the switch list available, someone can come to you and say, I'd like to invite you to my panel. And it means that where previously you might have seen an entirely male panel, they've got the opportunity now to say, actually there's a woman here that knows just as much about this topic, let's invite her on to speak.
That's fantastic, thank you very much.